The arena was old. It had stood for 1,000 years on the Empire. The stones were dark with age and stained with blood from countless battles. Today, like every celebration day, it was filled with noise and color. Princess sat in the royal viewing box high above the sand. Her silver skin caught the light of the twin suns. Her eyes, deep purple like all royalty, watched the arena floor with little interest. She had seen these games many times before. Warriors fought. Blood spilled. The crowd cheered. It was always the same. Her father, Emperor, sat beside her on his throne of black metal. He was speaking with his advisors about trade routes and border disputes. Did not listen. Politics bored her almost as much as the arena. The first 3 fights were quick. A warrior killed a beast from the outer moons. 2 slave fighters battled until one could not stand. A champion from the southern provinces defeated 3 challengers at once. The crowd loved it, yawned behind her hand. Then the announcer's voice filled the arena with excitement that seemed different from before. Noble citizens of the Empire, for your entertainment, we present something special. A creature from a small planet on the edge of known space. A being from a world so dangerous that simply surviving there is considered impossible. Leaned forward slightly, this was new. We bring you a human. The gates at the far end of the arena opened. 2 guards in heavy armor pushed a figure onto the sand. He stumbled but did not fall. When he straightened up, could see him clearly. He was tall for his kind, she had heard. His skin was a warm brown color, darker than the sand beneath his feet. His hair was black and cut short. He wore only simple cloth pants, torn and dirty from captivity. His chest was bare, showing muscles that moved under his skin like water under silk. But it was his eyes that caught her attention. Even from this distance, she could see they were not the eyes of a defeated man. They were dark and calm and watching everything. His name, she would later learn, was Ho. The crowd laughed and jeered. Humans were known in the Empire, but only as curiosities. They came from a death world, yes, but they had no claws, no armor, no venom. They were soft and slow compared to most species. What threat could one unarmed human pose? For this human's opponent, the announcer continued, we have selected the... A different gate opened and the crowd's laughter turned to excited screams. There was a nightmare made real. It stood 3 times the height of the human. Its body was covered in natural armor plates the color of dried blood. 4 arms ended in claws that could cut through metal. Its face was mostly mouth, filled with teeth that never stopped growing. Frown, this was not a fight. This was an execution for entertainment. The human had no weapon, no armor, nothing. He would die in seconds. She looked at her father. This seems unfair. Emperor smiled without warmth. The humans refused our generous offer to join the Empire as a servant race. They fought back. They killed many of our soldiers. This one was captured after he alone held a mountain pass against 50 of our warriors for 3 days. He paused. He earned his death in the arena. Looked back at the human called Ho. He had held a mountain pass alone for 3 days, against 50 soldiers. That seemed impossible. The roared. The sound shook the stones of the arena. Sand jumped and danced on the ground. The crowd roared back in excitement. Ho did not move. He stood perfectly still, watching the beast. His hands hung loose at his sides. His breathing was slow and even. The charged. It moved fast for something so large. Its 4 arms reached forward, claws ready to tear the human apart. Expected to see blood and death. Instead, she saw something beautiful. Ho moved. It was not fast in the way they understood fast. It was not a blur of speed. It was something else. It was perfect timing. He stepped to the side at the exact moment the claws would have found him. This attack hit only air. The beast spun, confused. It attacked again and again and again. Each time Ho was not there. He moved like smoke, like shadow, like water flowing around stone. He never ran. He never showed fear. He simply was not where the claws tried to be. The crowd grew quiet. This was not how prey behaved. His heart was beating faster. She leaned forward, gripping the edge of her seat. Her eyes never left the human. It was getting angry now. Its attacks became wild and uncontrolled. It swung all four arms at once, trying to catch the human in a cage of claws. Ho dropped to the ground, rolled under the beast, and came up behind it. For a moment he stood at the back. His hand touched the creature's armor plating, feeling for something. Then he moved away as the beast turned. Understood, he was learning. Every dodge, every close escape, he was studying his enemy, finding its weaknesses, making a plan. This human was not running from death, he was hunting. The realization sent a strange heat through her chest. She pressed her hand against her heart, confused by the sensation. Her father noticed. "Are you well?" "I am fine," she said, but her voice sounded distant to her own ears. In the arena, there was breathing hard. Its movements were slower now. It had spent enormous energy trying to catch prey that would not be caught. Ho had not attacked once. He had only moved and watched and waited. The human was not even breathing hard. He stood in the center of the arena, calm as still water, watching the tired beast with those dark, patient eyes. Felt her heart beat once, hard and strange. She did not know it yet, but her life had just changed forever. The twin suns had moved across the sky. The fight had been going on for nearly an hour, and the crowd had changed. What started as laughter and mockery had become something else. Silence filled the ancient arena. Thousands of citizens watched with wide eyes and open mouths. The was exhausted. Its massive body swayed with each breath. Foam dripped from its terrible mouth. Its four arms hung heavy at its sides, the claws that could cut metal now dragging in the sand. Ho stood 10 paces away. He was covered in sweat that made his brown skin shine. There were cuts on his arms and chest from the few times the beast had come close. Blood ran down his body and dripped onto the sand, but he was still standing. His breathing was controlled. His eyes were still calm. He had not attacked once. For an entire hour he had done nothing but move and dodge and watch. The crowd did not understand. This was not how battles worked. Battles were about strength and speed and violence. You attacked your enemy until one of you fell. But the human had different rules. Understood even if the others did not. She had watched the entire fight with growing amazement. The human was fighting a war of patience. He was using the strength against it. Every wild attack, every missed strike, every wasted charge took energy from the beast. The human was letting his enemy defeat itself. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was something she had never seen before. "This is impossible," her father muttered. He was leaning forward now too, his political discussions forgotten. The human should have died in the first minute. But he did not, said softly. The tried to attack again. It lunged forward with its front claws, but the movement was slow and clumsy. Ho stepped aside easily. As the beast stumbled past, the human did something new. He attacked. His hand shot out and struck the neck, right where the armor plates met. The beast made a choking sound and fell to one knee. Its left arm went limp. The crowd gasped, his heart jumped. Ho had found the weak point. During an hour of dodging and watching, he had mapped every gap in the creature's armor. He knew exactly where to strike. It roared in pain and rage. It swung its remaining arms wildly. Ho danced back, waited, and struck again. This time he hit the beast's side and another arm went limp. The creature was crippled now. 2 of its 4 arms hung useless. It tried to stand but fell back to its knees. Blood poured from the spots where the human had struck. Realized that Ho had been hitting nerve clusters. Somehow, in the chaos of battle, he had learned the creature's body well enough to disable it with his bare hands. No weapons, no claws, just knowledge and patience and perfect precision. The human walked in a slow circle around his fallen enemy. His face showed no anger, no triumph, no cruelty. He looked almost sad. "I am sorry," he said. His voice was quiet, but in the silent arena everyone heard. "You did not choose this fight, neither did I." The tried to attack one more time. It lunged with its two working arms, desperate and dying. Ho moved inside its reach, too close for the claws to find him. He placed both hands on the creature's head. For a moment they were still. Then Ho twisted. There was a sound like breaking wood, and the fell. It did not move again. The human stood over his fallen enemy. He was breathing hard now. Blood covered his body, both his own and the beast's. He swayed slightly on his feet but did not fall. Then he did something that shocked everyone. He knelt beside the dead and closed its eyes with gentle hands. He whispered something in his own language. It sounded like a prayer. Felt tears in her eyes. She did not know why. The crowd did not know how to react. They had come to see a human die for their entertainment. Instead, they had witnessed something impossible. A soft creature from a death world had killed one of the most dangerous beasts in the Empire using nothing but patience and wisdom and bare hands. And then he had shown the dead beast respect. One person in the crowd started clapping, then another, then more. Soon the entire arena was shaking with applause and cheers. They were not cheering for death. They were cheering for something they did not have words for. Ho stood. He looked up at the crowd with tired eyes. If the cheering pleased him, he did not show it. He simply stood straight and waited. Then his eyes found the royal viewing box. They found. Their gazes met across the vast distance of the arena. Brown eyes meeting purple. Human meeting. Warrior meeting princess. Felt that strange heat in her chest again. Stronger now, almost painful. Her hand went to her heart without her choosing to move it. "No," she whispered, "this cannot be." But she knew the stories. Every child knew them. The heart selection. The ancient bond that chose your partner before your mind could interfere. It happened once in a lifetime. It could not be controlled. It could not be. His heart had made its choice. Down in the arena, Ho finally looked away. Guards were coming to take him back to his cell. He went with them without fighting. Why would he fight? He had proven what he needed to prove. The crowd was still cheering when stood suddenly. "Where are you going?" her father asked. Did not answer. She walked out of the royal box with quick steps. She needed to be alone. She needed to think. She needed to understand what was happening to her. But deep in her heart, she already knew. The selection had happened. The bond was forming. Her heart had chosen a human warrior who killed monsters with his bare hands and prayed for them afterward. She had chosen the impossible. And she was terrified. Locked herself in her chambers and did not come out for 3 days. Her servants brought food that she did not eat. Her father sent messages that she did not answer. Her brothers knocked on her door and called her name, but she pretended not to hear. She spent the days lying on her bed, staring at the ceiling, pressing her hand against the fire in her chest. It would not stop burning. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, the human, Ho, standing in the arena, covered in blood, showing mercy to a dead beast. The heart selection was real. She had always known it was real, but knowing something and experiencing it were very different things. Among the heart selection was sacred. It was a biological bond that happened rarely and randomly. When it happened, it could not be ignored. It could not be reversed. The one who experienced it would feel drawn to their selected partner for the rest of their lives. Fighting it caused only pain. The selection had nothing to do with politics or power or proper bloodlines. It was the heart recognizing something in another being. Courage, perhaps, or honor, or kindness. Whatever quality the heart needed most, it found in another and locked onto it forever. His heart had found what it needed in a human slave. On the 4th day, she finally left her chambers. She went to the library, the oldest in the empire. She searched through ancient texts and dusty records. She was looking for a way out. some forgotten law or ritual that could break the selection. She found nothing. The selection was absolute. On the fifth day, she went to her grandmother. Old Empress was nearly 400 years old. She had lived through 3 wars, 2 plagues, and the death of 2 husbands. She spent her days in a garden of crystal flowers, surrounded by memories and silence. "I know why you have come," the old Empress said before could speak. Her voice was soft like wind through leaves. "I can see it in your silver skin, the selection glow." Looked at her own hands. There was a faint shimmer to her skin that had not been there before, a mark of the selection that every would recognize. "I do not want this," said, her voice cracked. "He is a human, a slave, an enemy of the Empire. The heart does not care about such things. But I am a princess. I am meant to marry someone of noble blood, someone who will bring power and alliance to our family." Old smiled with wrinkled lips. "I was meant to marry a duke from the eastern provinces. Instead, my heart selected a common soldier who guarded the palace gates. Your grandfather." Stared. "I never knew that." "There is much you do not know, child. Your grandfather was not born noble. He was made noble after I claimed him, because the selection cannot be, not even by emperors and empresses. But a human grandmother. The galaxy will laugh at us." "Let them laugh." Old reached out and took's hand. Her old fingers were cold but gentle. "Tell me about him. What did you see that your heart loved?" Closed her eyes. The memories came flooding back. "He was unarmed," she said slowly. "They put him in the arena with nothing, no weapons, no armor, just his body against a monster. Everyone expected him to die quickly. But he did not die. No, he fought for an hour, not with strength or speed, but with patience. He let the beast tire itself out. He watched and learned and waited. And when the time was right, he struck." Opened her eyes. "He could have been angry. He could have been cruel. But after he won, he knelt beside the dead creature and prayed for it." Old nodded slowly. "Your heart saw a warrior who fights with wisdom instead of rage, a killer who shows mercy, a prisoner who keeps his honor." She squeezed hand. "These are rare things, child, in any species. But he is human. Yes, a species we tried to conquer, a species that fought back so fiercely that even our greatest generals called for peace, a species that survives on a world that would kill any of us in days." The old Empress smiled again. "Perhaps your heart is wiser than you know." Sat with her grandmother until the sun set. They talked about love and duty and the strange paths that life could take. By the time she left, something had changed inside her. She was still afraid, she was still confused, but she was no longer fighting. On the 6th day, went to the slave quarters. The guards tried to stop her, but she was a princess. Her word was law. They opened the door to Ho's cell and stepped aside. The human was sitting in the corner, his back against the cold stone wall. His wounds had been treated badly. Infection was starting in some of the cuts, but his eyes were the same, dark and calm and watching. He looked up when she entered. He did not seem surprised. "Princess," he said. His voice was rough from lack of water. "Have you come to watch me die?" No. Stepped closer. Her heart was burning in her chest. "I have come to tell you something." Ho waited. Took a deep breath. "Among my people there is a thing called heart selection. It is a bond that forms without choice. When it happens, it cannot be broken." The human's eyes narrowed slightly. "I have heard of this. My heart has selected you." The cell was silent. Outside, guards shifted uncomfortably. They could hear everything. Ho's expression did not change. "You are telling me that your heart has chosen a human slave as your partner, a prisoner, an enemy." "Yes." "And what do you want me to do with this information?" Had not expected that question. "I do not know. I only know that I had to tell you. It would be wrong to keep it secret." For a long moment, Ho just looked at her. His dark eyes studied her face like he had studied thee in the arena, looking for weakness, looking for truth. You are either very brave or very foolish, he finally said. Perhaps both, admitted. And for the first time, she saw the human smile. It was a small smile, tired and sad and somehow beautiful. It made the fire in her chest burn brighter. Then we have something in common, Princess, Ho said. In that moment, knew she had made the right choice. Whatever came next, she would face it. The galaxy might not understand. Her father might be furious. The empire might burn. But her heart had chosen, and she would not let it choose alone. The news spread through the palace like fire through dry grass. Princess had visited the human slave. She had spoken to him alone. She had the selection glow. Within hours, the entire court knew. By the next morning, the entire planet was talking about it. Emperor summoned his daughter to the throne room. Walked through the great doors with her head held high. The throne room was full of nobles and advisors and generals. Every important person in the empire had gathered to witness her shame. They looked at her with horror and disgust. Some laughed behind their hands. The emperor sat on his throne of black metal. His face was cold as stone. "Is it true?" he asked. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. Stopped at the base of the throne, she looked up at her father without fear. "Yes." Whispers filled the room like angry insects. "Your heart has selected a human," the emperor said slowly. "A slave, a creature we captured in war, a thing barely more advanced than an animal." "He is not an animal," said. "He is a warrior who held a mountain pass against 50 of your soldiers. He is a fighter who killed with his bare hands. He is a being of honor who showed mercy to a fallen enemy." "He is human," the emperor's voice thundered through the room. "They are a backward species from a worthless planet. They have no technology, no culture, no value. Their only use is as slaves and entertainment." "Then why did it take 3 years and 10,000 soldiers to conquer one of their small countries?" asked quietly. "Why do we still lose patrols on their world every month? Why does every general who has faced them return with fear in their eyes?" The room went silent. These were questions no one asked aloud. The war with the humans was supposed to be easy. It had become anything but. Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "You will reject the selection." "That is not possible, father. You know this. The mind can overcome the heart. You will force yourself to forget this human. You will marry Lord as we planned. The alliance with his family is too important." Shook her head slowly. "The selection cannot be broken by will. Grandmother told me. She experienced it herself with grandfather." "Your grandmother was a foolish woman who made the choice of her life," a new voice interrupted. Everyone turned. Old Empress walked into the throne room. She moved slowly, supported by a walking stick, but her purple eyes were sharp as knives. "Mother," the emperor said with careful respect, "this is not your concern." "My granddaughter's future is always my concern," walked to stand beside. "I heard you speaking of me. You called me foolish. But my selection gave me 50 years of happiness and gave this empire its greatest general. Your father won 4 wars for you. Would you call his service worthless?" The emperor was silent. His father had been legendary. Everyone knew the story of the common soldier who became the empire's greatest commander. "The selection is sacred," continued. "It has been so since the beginning of our civilization. We do not control who our hearts choose. We only control how we respond to that choice." She looked around the room at the gathered nobles. "I see fear in this room, fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of a small species from a death world that refuses to surrender." She walked toward the throne, each step slow and deliberate. "But I remember something else about humans. I remember reading the reports from the war. Do you know what our soldiers fear most about fighting them?" No one answered. "It is not their weapons or their tactics. It is their refusal to give up. You can break their bodies, but you cannot break their spirits. You can burn their cities, but they will rebuild. You can kill their warriors, but their children will pick up the fallen swords." reached the base of the throne and looked up at her son. That is what the heart selection recognizes, that unbreakable spirit, and my granddaughter's heart has found it in one human man. Emperor was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was tired. And what would you have me do, mother? Give a princess of the blood to a human slave, make him royalty. The galaxy would laugh at us. The other empires would see it as weakness. Or they would see it as strength, said. They would see an empire secure enough to honor its oldest traditions, even when those traditions lead somewhere unexpected. This is madness. Perhaps, but it is honest madness, smiled her ancient smile. Bring the human before us. Let us see if he is worthy of my granddaughter. Let him speak for himself. The emperor looked at his mother. He looked at his daughter. He looked at the gathered nobles who watched with hungry eyes. Very well, he finally said. Bring the human. Guards left the room. The waiting stretched like a held breath. Then the doors opened again, and Ho walked in. He had been given clean clothes, simple pants and a loose shirt, nothing more. His wounds had been properly treated now, white bandages visible under the cloth, but he walked like a king. His back was straight. His eyes were clear. He showed no fear. He stopped in the center of the room and looked around at the gathered. His gaze passed over the nobles without interest. It passed over the generals who had tried to conquer his world. Finally, it found. And he smiled that small, tired, beautiful smile. Felt her heart burn so bright she thought everyone must see it. Human, the emperor said, do you know why you are here? Ho looked up at the throne. Your daughter told me of the heart selection. I assume you are not pleased. I am furious, the emperor said honestly, but I am also curious. You are a prisoner, a slave, yet you stand before me without fear. Why? Ho considered the question carefully before answering. I have fought in your arena. I have killed your beasts. I have survived your prisons. I have watched my friends die on battlefields far from home. His voice was calm and steady. I have already faced the worst things your empire can offer. What is left to fear? The throne room was silent. Felt proud. She did not know why, but she felt proud. The princess's heart has chosen you, the emperor said slowly. But the choice is not complete until you respond. You can reject her. You can walk away. I will grant you freedom and safe passage back to your world. All you have to do is say no. Ho looked at again. His dark eyes met her purple ones. And if I say yes, he asked, then you will become part of this family, part of this empire. Your people and mine will be bound together in ways we cannot yet imagine. The human was quiet for a long moment. I need to think, he finally said. The emperor nodded slowly. You have until sunset tomorrow. Guards take him to a proper chamber. He is no longer a prisoner. He is a guest. As the guards led Ho away, watched him go. Her heart was screaming at her to follow, but she stayed where she was. He needed time. She only hoped he would make the right choice. The night was the longest of his life. She could not sleep. She walked through the palace gardens under the light of 3 moons, thinking about what the morning might bring. Ho could say no. He could take his freedom and return to Earth. He owed her nothing. Why would a human whose people had been invaded and enslaved by her kind choose to bind himself to a princess? She would not blame him if he left, but her heart would break. In a different part of the palace, Ho sat by a window and watched the same 3 moons. A servant had brought him food and drink, the best the empire could offer. He had not touched any of it. He was thinking about home, about the mountains where he had grown up, about his family scattered by the war, about the faces of friends who had died fighting the invasion. And he was thinking about a silver-skinned princess with purple eyes who had walked into his cell and offered him her heart. He did not understand the heart selection. His people had no such thing, but he understood courage. He understood someone risking everything for what they believed in. Could have hidden her selection. She could have pretended it never happened. Instead, she had told the truth to a prisoner, knowing he could use it against her. That kind of courage deserved respect. That kind of courage deserved an answer. The sun rose over the golden light spilled across the ancient stones of the palace. The throne room filled once again with nobles and generals and advisors. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Stood at the base of the throne. She had dressed carefully in a gown of silver and purple that matched her skin and eyes. Her grandmother stood beside her, quiet and watchful. Emperor sat on his throne. His face revealed nothing. The doors opened and Ho walked in. He had been given proper clothes, a black suit in the human style, simple and elegant. His wounds were healing. He walked with the same calm confidence he had shown in the arena. He stopped in the center of the room. His eyes found immediately. "Human," the emperor said, "the time has come. What is your answer?" Ho did not look at the emperor. He kept his eyes on as he spoke. "I have thought about this through the night. I have considered what it would mean to accept. I have considered what it would mean to refuse." The throne room was silent. No one breathed. "I have many reasons to say no," Ho continued. "Your empire invaded my world. Your soldiers killed my friends. Your people call my kind animals and slaves. I should hate everything you represent." Felt her heart sinking. But Ho said, "I have learned something in my time as a prisoner. Hate is easy. Any fool can hate. It takes strength to see beyond it. It takes courage to reach for something better." He took a step toward. "When I was in the arena, I could have fought with rage. I could have attacked blindly and died quickly. Instead, I chose patience. I chose wisdom. I chose to find another way. Another step. When your princess came to my cell, she could have kept her secret. She could have let me die without ever knowing. Instead, she chose honesty. She chose truth. She chose to treat a prisoner as an equal." He stopped directly in front of. They were close enough to touch. "You asked me what my answer is," Ho said. He was speaking to the emperor, but his eyes never left. "My answer is that I have seen the worst of this empire and survived it. Now I want to see if I can find the best of it." He reached out and took his hand. "I choose to stay," he said. "I choose her." Felt tears on her face. She had not noticed them falling. "Are you certain?" she whispered. "You could be free. You could go home." "Home is not a place," Ho said gently. "It is where you find people worth standing beside. I think I have found that here." Old Empress made a small sound of approval. Emperor was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with resignation. "Very well, the selection is complete. The bond is formed." He stood from his throne and looked at the gathered nobles. "Let it be known throughout the empire. The human Ho is no longer a slave. He is now a prince of the blood, chosen partner to princess. Any who disrespect him disrespect the imperial family." The room erupted in whispers and gasps. This was unprecedented. A human made royalty. It would change everything. Did not care about any of it. She was looking at Ho, at this impossible man who had fought monsters and shown mercy and chosen her. "You realize what this means?" she asked quietly. "Our people were enemies. Now we are bound together. Everything changes." "Everything always changes," Ho said. "The question is whether we change it for better or worse." "And which will this be?" The human smiled. That small, tired, beautiful smile that made her heart burn. "I think that depends on us," he said. In the weeks that followed, news of the selection spread across the galaxy. Some empires laughed at the for accepting a human into their royal family. Others watched with fear, wondering what this meant for the balance of power. On Earth, the scattered human resistance fighters heard a different story. They heard that one of their own had walked into the heart of the enemy empire and claimed a princess. They heard that a human had beaten a monster with his bare hands and won the respect of an emperor. Hope began to spread. Peace talks started. The war that had cost so many lives on both sides slowly ground to a halt. Human diplomats came to the, protected by the bond between Ho and. It would not be easy. Centuries of distrust could not be erased by one selection, but it was a beginning. And it had all started in an arena, when a princess watched a human fight unarmed and saw something in him that her heart could not deny. Something unbreakable. Something beautiful. Something worth choosing. Years later, when people asked Princess about that day, she would smile and say the same thing every time. "I did not choose him," she would say. "My heart knew something I did not. It saw a man who could face death without fear, show mercy without weakness, and choose love without conditions. By the time I understood what my heart already knew, it was too late to argue." And beside her, Ho would smile that small smile. "It was too late for me too," he would say. "From the moment I looked up and saw those purple eyes watching me from the royal box, I knew something had changed. I just did not have a word for it yet." "We call it heart selection," would say. "We call it fate," Ho would reply. They never agreed on the name, but they agreed on everything else. And that was enough.